I'm back from a session in the machine shop, and I just thought I'd like to show you what I've done and worked out. We were talking about the length of these screws. Now if you do go this way, you will have to machine the whole thread. The reason being is this one on this particular side, yes, you definitely have to do that one. These two, the linkage actually hangs down this way. So to clear it, I would suggest you machine the whole thread down. I machined the one on this particular side in shorter, so as the head of the eye here would clear it. So it wasn't really necessary, but I'm just making sure that I do have the right clearance as I go along. Saves me pulling them apart later. I've also shifted the nut that we spoke about before. That's just sitting there. I can just touch it with a soldering iron if it happens to turn. I've used a cap screw rather than the normal Phillips head screw because I find they're a lot stronger thread and easier to adjust. So I've swapped that over. You place the two cones up on this adjuster side, so that way you can easily adjust it when it's up and away rather than trying to adjust it that way. The nuts, you need to clean those holes out for the nuts. There'll be some stringers and some loose and the holes will be oval again. So just touch that with your rat tail file and that is done. But if you remember when I was showing you the run out on the threads on the threaded rods, you saw the little die nut spin around and wobble like that. Well, to machine these, as you can see from these photos, I machine them up on the lathe, hacksaw them and then just machine them to length. And I just made up a threaded split bush. All it is you tap your hole in for your thread. This particular one is countersunk, so you just countersink the inside. That screws in. Put that in your 3-jaw chuck. The slit there allows you to squash the thread onto the thread there, so that locks in position. If your machine is say 20mm long, and you know these are to be 21mm, once it's screwed in tight, you can take a cut and just measure it that way. So they're quite versatile. However, when I put them in, I noticed that the thread was tight, and also these screws also are like that. So with my idea of using the taper to lock onto the thread, onto the cone there, stop it from moving, to reduce that 0.5mm plate, that head will also move. So again, it's not a great fix, it's not 1000%, but it's 99% there. Buy cap screws, they're normally better made. Not guaranteed, if you buy cheap ones they do run out. So that's the little fixture I made up and I machined them up. Then we had to decide on what we're going to do here. Originally I was going to mill these down to the same thickness as these. But testing the actual free movement, I put it in, I started to file little recesses just to clear the very corners, 100%. And then I started to think, well, if I machine these down, is that then going to mean I have to machine all these surfaces to get the clearance, because it's now narrow? So what I did was I just filed these to the same size. So I got the smallest size through here, and then with the vernier caliper measure that distance and just say it's 11.5, and that's 11.75. You know that one's 2.5 bigger, so you just file that one to there, both the same. And if they're then 11.5, you say, well, that one is that one, and then you balance them so as they're equal. Then you know, well, if this one's the smallest and it's half a mil smaller, let's say, you file off 1/4 mil each side of that one and that one. So they are then all equal and also central to that particular print, as well as it can be measured with lips and all that sort of stuff. So you get those three equal. Then you find the smallest one of these and you file those faces square, but I don't know if you can see on that face there, that is leaning that way, but it also happened to be the smallest one. So I file these two faces down to the same thickness, these two faces down to the same thickness. Then, as it shows in the photos, I measured that thickness and I measured that thickness. That gave me a dimension. Then I actually screwed these in position and I measured across there, and I done the same for these. That is after I had modified my cap screws. I decided not to put a bush in, and I didn't want to wait a month for the countersunk screws to turn up, and after the month they may turn up with eBay, and if they don't, you then have to order again. There's another month, so you can be actually 2 months out waiting for something to turn up. So I just took a slight cut, about 1/2 to 3/4 of a mil on a 45-degree chamfer. So I machined all those up so as they now locate on that taper and have got the clearance. So I then screwed them all in together and measured the overall distance, and that worked out to be 53.42. The width of these are roughly, well, they're exactly 6.97 mil. So if you say that's 7, that's only 0.03 smaller, and you say that's 53.5.1, you can say, right, that measurement from the centre line to the centre line is 46.5 mil. So then I done the same, measured across there, 51.94 minus 6.97 equals to 45. So that centre line was 45, that centre line was 46.5. So a difference of 1.5 millimetres. So I thought, well, I set them all up a mil and a half, and then I have to try to clean this up so as it would swivel. So what I done was I got some small 1/8 washers, and they're narrower on the diameter. Some are, some washers are big. This is the narrow type. Put them basically on there, and another one on the other side over there. And I measured them, and that particular size washer happened to bring them up the exact thickness as what fits on there without a washer. So rather than machine this and try to get it clearance, I used the thinner washers so they clear that smaller diameter there. So I didn't lose any movement, and I saved a lot of machining. So these are roughly 25 mil, make them 22, and they may sit slightly proud, make them 21, and they'll be under flush. Get some cap screws, even though these heads run out. Just take a little 45-degree chamfer, same on all of them, and then you don't need a bush. That locates it, and it won't rock up and down. It's now up to the stage to fit the carriages, and then I'll go on and tell you about the belt and why you really don't need to have the adjusters. So I'll just assemble these and I'll get back to you.